Rushes are in full flight. We're coming by air and on the ground. Monday Night Football's taking over the town. We gotta get ready. We gotta get right. It's gonna be a battle in the NFL tonight. So get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready?
You can't insult me.
We've had vicious kings, and we've had India's kings, but I don't know if we've ever been cursed with a vicious idiot like you.
You can't.
I can, I am.
They attacked me.
They threw a cowpie at you, so you decided to kill them all. They're starving, you fool, all because of a war you
You're
started.
talking to a king.
And now I've struck a king. Did my hand fall from my wrist?
All right, welcome everybody. Week 12 recap. I'm reporting to you in the dark because under the rule of the cruel Lord Worm, there's no power, there's no electricity, there's no bread, there's no nothing, there's no fun, there's no nonsense. There's only football. There's only recap. All right, first contest of the day, or of the evening, I should say, because it's dark here all day long. We're going to look at Darkest of Horses, who defeated Midgers Nidgers in a battle of the also-rans. Leading the way for Darkest of Horses was RG3, or should I say, R Garbage 3. The guy only scores in garbage time. Shame on him. Next up, we have Danny Trevathan, who we just picked up on waivers last week. And who also is a unanimous selection for Picture of the Week. I mean, look at that mug. And rounding out the week for Webby was Maurice Jones-Drew. MJD, alive and well. It was the second straight week with a touchdown. Dude actually has 10.45 points since October 6th, so he's been a pretty steady producer. And these points have been coming against pretty good defenses. A couple outstanding run defenses, like the Broncos. They're number 4 overall against the run. And the Cardinals, number 2. So MJG is showing life besides being over 30 and being in that wasteland that's Jacksonville. So Webb's is kind of playing the spoiler role right now. I wouldn't circle every week against him as a win. On the other hand, Midgers Nidgers, I'll give the guy credit. He actually started a full lineup this week, despite a good showing from Tom Brady, whose reaction at the end of the Monday football game was pretty awesome. Despite the shitty outcome, he had another good week. He's up to 48 in the Yahoo rankings. Ryan Matthews also with a big game for Midgers Nidgers, but that was about it. And not enough to avoid getting benched this week by MJR. He sees that KC matchup, and he knows it's going to be a tough one. KC coming in with one of the best defenses in the league. All right, our next matchup, one of the big stories of the week, Shedson's auto saves, defeating Gomez's patently superior team, knocking Gomez out of first place, and giving the Worm back the Iron Throne. Very sad, very depressing turn of events, but we press on. Shenson had a really impressive week. He had some great performances by his wide receivers. I don't know if you caught any of the games, but Malcolm Floyd had maybe the catch of the day, catch of the month maybe. That was incredible. Vincent Jackson had a big game as well for the resurgent Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Julius Thomas continued to produce for Denver. Shenson's pick of Thomas off the waiver wires early in the season. definitely has helped him along this year. Not a lot of people saw Thomas doing the things he has done. One thing to look for, though, with Shenson as he makes his playoff push, maybe the inconsistency of Reggie Bush. Certainly, he's a spectacular performer some weeks. He's had some huge games. But he's also had 2 weeks where he's scored just 6.9 points. 1 week where he was out. Another week where he had 9.4, so it's not terrible. But sometimes that's probably below his projection. Then another week, this past week, where he had just 3.4. And you also factor in a bye week, so that's about half the year he's been kind of inconsistent. So that's maybe why Shenson's not as high in the rankings. But again, if Bush plays well down the stretch, he could help make Shenson and the Lions a nice little playoff push. Gomez had a pretty strong week despite being knocked off by Shenson. He would have, with 115 points, he probably would have won a couple other matchups. Part of his problems this week were that his top players, Peyton Manning and Adrian Peterson, were going against some of the tougher defenses in the league, Kansas City and Seattle respectively. And Peyton's also kind of been hobbling around lately, so that's a little cause for concern. We'll see how he does against the Patriots this week. I think he'll probably do all right, but something to keep an eye on. A lot of injuries with that guy. He's getting old. So is Peterson. So those guys need to remain healthy for Gomez to make his push to the championship. So I'm sure he's watching those situations closely. But on the other hand, he does have to feel good about Gronkowski. Gronkman's getting it done, and despite being held on the last play of the game, he's starting to look like his old self. Hopefully he can stay in there. And if he does, then Gomez could be tough to beat. Doubly tough to beat because of the points he's getting from his defense. He got 51 from his defensive team and the 2 players that he has in the defensive positions. That was a 27-point game from Cincinnati, so not likely something that's going to be repeated, but still. All right. I'm going to talk very, very softly because I'm not supposed to say anything about this game. Because if you speak ill of Worm, he'll slice your tongue off. He has spies everywhere, I heard. I hope none of them hear me. In this matchup, he only scored 88.52 points, but he still won. And now he's back in first place. Matt Damon, unbelievable. Josh's team didn't start DeMarco Murray. Not sure why he didn't do that. Maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe he didn't know that DeMarco Murray should not be started in this matchup. Josh, if he did exist, he might be happy that Ray Rice got only his 3rd double-digit game of the year. But maybe he's not, because it was against a bad defense. Matt Damon, on the other hand, survives a week with a few of his players not really playing up to par. Andre Ellington, one of his big waiver wire pickups, had a whopping 9 rushes for 3 yards. Pretty terrible. I'm sure he's a little concerned about that. He might even be more concerned that Andre Ellington also lost his dreadlocks in the game. This again against the mighty Jacksonville Jaguar defense. So whether he lost his dreadlocks, his mojo, or something else, I think there's some cause for concern. We shall see this weekend as the Cardinals take on the Colts. Matt Damon also had Josh Gordon. He's been one of his more productive players since September 22nd, not counting the bye. Gordon's been averaging 12.9 points a game. So he's one of those brown bright spots that's possible that may have made the difference for Matt Damon in this matchup. Because he certainly could use a little more from Jordan Cameron, who's cooled off a little bit in the last 5 weeks. He averaged 13.92 points over the first 5 weeks of the season, but only 5.86 in the last 5. So something to take note of. A little statistical analysis for you. You like that? You see what I did there? Oh God. I hear something coming. Ah! I must go! Ah! Alright, in our next matchup, we have Mom Enough destroying Nocho Cinco's 138.98 to 80.56. Big game for Mom Enough, although it was not enough to get him into first place. Although it was close. For Mom Enough, Harry Douglas, big game with 21.4 points. Big pickup for Mom Enough, led by Mr. Kyle Bocchini. Douglas has 13.5 points over the last 5 weeks. A lot of that due to Julio Jones being out for the season, Roddy White not being the same, and Matt Ryan being a little desperate in there. So good pickup from Mom Enough. Definitely helping his team make a push for the top seed in the playoffs. Another big player has been Chris Johnson, surprisingly. CJ3 scored 17.93 points over the last 4 weeks, not including the bye. He scored 120 on the season, and that's only 1 point behind the surprisingly alive and well Fred Jackson, who has 121 points. And it's only 44 behind one of the top backs in the league this year, Jamal Charles. So Bikini there with a pretty potent running back core. Definitely seems like he's one of the favorites to take home the title this year. But he also even has Shane Vereen, who's going to get some more carries. The Pats offense to make up for stumbling Stephen Ridley. And he also has Bobby Rainey, nice waiver wire pickup, who's filled in for the injured Doug Martin in Tampa Bay. So Bikini has some good flexibility off his bench. Looks like he has a pretty deep team, unlike another team that's on the top of the league right now. Oh, sorry about that. I just avoided one of Worm's evil henchmen. I fought him off and I killed him with my bare hands. Now that that's over with, we can get back on the business. All right. Leading the way for Nocho Cinco's is... Actually, I don't have any analysis here at all. I have a little tidbit. I heard John McCoy hadn't been this disappointed in his fantasy team's effort since week 8 of the 1923 season, when Jim Thorpe couldn't get a measly fucking touchdown as a member of the Oorang Indians against those fucking Columbus Tigers. I feel you, bro. That was pretty bad. All right, in our next matchup, once again, Patrick's best team. Big win over Patrick himself. I'm not really sure how that's possible, but ladies and gentlemen, it is possible. Because Brenna is riding a 2-game winning streak. I think she has a pretty good team. I know I've been saying this for third straight one of these videos, but I mean, come on. You gotta look at the cupboard there, and the cupboard is full. Last week she had Nick Foles starting, but that's not even her starter. That would be Mr. Andrew the Giant Luck, who's back in action this week. Brenna also has Rashard Jennings, who's stepped in for the oft-injured Darius McFadden. Jennings had $150 yards and a touchdown last week, and he's actually averaging 18.7 over the last 3. So if he keeps that up, that's a pretty big waiver wire pickup to have going into the stretch run of the season. She also has Andre Brown, who was was one of my waiver wire pickup of the week last week. He's gotten 17.9 and 9.3 points in the last 2 games. He might be the Giants' go-to back as they make a playoff push in these final weeks of the season. This week she'll be able to start Zach Stacy again, who's been one of the bigger stories of this NFL season, emerging as a go-to running back for the Rams. Maybe their back of the future. And she also maybe has the best duo of wide receivers in the league, Victor Cruz and Megatron. So watch out where here she comes. But on the other side there, pretty tough defeat for PB. He drops back to 8th place. It might be too much for him to overcome to make the short playoff field. He put up a big 132 points, which would have won a few other matchups, but fortunately he was playing a really good team this week. Sometimes that's the nature of the beast. Can't do anything about it. His high scorer, Vontez Burfict, the linebacker for Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals scoring all kinds of points that game. Perfect, no exception. Defensive players this year have really kind of been the X factors in some of these matchups. They can put up a lot of points and tip the scales of these games. One of those things I don't think a lot of people counted for in the draft, so it's been one of those parts of managing the team that you're kind of getting a feel for as you go along. So you could see some of these defensive players making a difference in these final weeks. Interesting wrinkle. I haven't ever played in a fantasy league with the defensive players getting points, but it's been kind of fun. And I think it's something that we should definitely keep in the league next year. Also, with a nice game for PB, Matt Forte. As an owner of Forte in another league, it's been a pleasant experience having that guy, especially when some of the other bigger name backs have gone down this year or have just been playing underwhelming, like Ray Rice. He's had a pretty terrible year. And Arian Foster, who's on the IR, and his career might be in jeopardy, and Doug Martin, who's also on the IR. So, PB still, I don't know if he has a shot at making the playoffs, but I'm sure he likes having Matt Forte in there. It's probably a little frustrating that he had Aaron Rodgers and kind of lost him for a pretty big part of the season, but he's hanging in there. So we'll see what happens over these next couple weeks. And last but not least, we have yours truly winning by 17 over the own symbol. I don't have much to say about this game other than Crimin, please field a full roster next time. I appreciate getting the win, but I also appreciate fairness. And come on, man, start a full team. You click on the icon, it'll be green, and then you can select a player on your bench, and then that person on the bench will go into that open roster spot. If you couldn't do it for me, please do it for someone else so that you can screw up their chances of their fantasy season. And on that note, I just want to say, Worm, I'm coming for you. And farewell. I hope I don't get executed and lose my head at the end of this week. Adios, amigos. Cal, over and out.